nurse me back to health. I believe I was poisoned. I think I've been poisoned. 'Cause the hole's drilled in my head. They keep me from wandering. You keep me from wandering. 'Cause I was a dreamer, a dandelion prophet. Wherever the wind blows.
A handful of sand contains about 10,000 grains, more than the total number of stars we can see with the naked eye on a clear night. But the number of stars we can see is only the tiniest fraction of the number of stars that are. What we see at night is the merest smattering of the nearest stars, with a few more distant bright stars thrown in for good measure. Meanwhile, the cosmos is rich beyond measure. The total number of stars in the universe is larger than all the grains of sand on all the beaches of the planet Earth.
204863. 204863.
You've been chosen.
204863. 204863.
Endast vår mästare kan få dem. Du har en rätt. En rätt att bli en av oss. Så välkommen till vår värld. Mycket snart öppnas portarna till en ny dimension. 204863. 204863.
It's gonna get loud, Hideo. He is here, and we're so happy. So I couldn't start the show without getting this over. We often talk about great games on our stage, but for a minute, I want to talk about a great man behind those games. Last year, Hideo Kojima's world was turned upside down when he left Konami after the completion of Metal Gear Solid 5. We all have tough times to go through, but the true test of one's character comes in how we react to those moments we don't control, when judgments are made or when decisions are rendered upon us by others that we sometimes can't comprehend. I think what happened to Hideo Kojima last year was a tragedy, but he never complained. He just sat in an isolated room for months, looked inside himself and focused on his art. He hoped that his love of entertaining us would carry him through the darkest days of his career, and we thank him for all that he went through. Well, you know, when I've questioned things in my own life over the past few years, I've drawn strength from seeing firsthand how Hideo dealt with this inflection point of his life. He is one of the most principled, loyal, and ethical men I have ever met. And I'm just so honored to call you a friend above everything else, Hideo. Now, This trophy right here, I got to tell you about this because for most of the past year, I've tried very unsuccessfully to give Hideo the award he rightfully won last year for Metal Gear Solid 5. Keep talking to him and his producer Ken, and it's like I can't get this to him. I first offered to ship it to him, but I couldn't get the address of his new studio. Then I said I'd drive this myself out to Las Vegas to personally hand to him when I saw him in February, and he politely declined that.
Endast vår bästa kan få dem. Du har en rätt. En rätt att bli en av oss. Så välkommen till vår värld. Mycket snart öppnas portarna till en ny dimension. 2048.
You've been chosen.
I'll be back.
But I'll keep coming.
World premiere.
you call my name while I'm passing out. The mistake I've made, it can't be turned around. So I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out. I went one for one. Before casting out the mistake I've made, you can't be turned around. So I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out.
Soon I'll come around.
Chloe's father were here, he'd know what to tell you. Us?
You know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything. You see, I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you. You came along just like a song and brightened my day. Who'd have believed that you were part of a dream? Now it all seems like years away. And now you know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything. You see, I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile. Now some people say happiness takes so very long to find. Well, I'm finding it hard leaving your love behind me. And you see, I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything. You see, I feel glad when you're glad. I feel sad when you're sad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you.
Clean air, green hills, a yard with lots of room to grow it. It'll be great for the baby.
Babies.
Sick of losing my patience ahead of time, lacking rhythm, barely conscious, oversensitized.